shoes, but right now I can't climb for like a week or two.
You've been climbing too much, Sean.
Too much climbing, wearing through that shit. But I'm gonna do the
Just
intro
quick,
now.
I went through the shoes pretty quick. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Welcome to Almost a Podcast, losers. My name is Colton. I'm your host for this podcast.
Well, hostile.
I'm here with my lads, Sean and Mike, as usual, per the usual.
What's up?
Yeah.
That's all I got. I do. I like how you wait for us to introduce
I
ourselves.
was like, I am waiting for you guys to introduce yourselves. I'm like,
I
anything.
think I've ever introduced myself.
Yeah. Oh, yes. But
It's.
Oh, go ahead, Sean.
Oh, I was just gonna interrupt your intro to say it's getting close to Christmas now. It's like I can't believe it's a week away.
Yeah, it's wild.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe it either. I'm gonna get so many goodies.
I'm excited.
Although
Good
when
to
this
see
comes out,
people.
it's gonna be like a month after or a week or two after.
It is gonna be
Yeah.
a week or two after. Yeah. I'm gonna get. Oh, I don't know. A lot of gift cards, probably. I feel like the creativity in my family is dwindling.
Dwindling.
It's like to the point where I just give a list out and it's like, this is what I want. Can you get it for me, please? And then they gave me a list and we just get everything on their list.
This is
we
the
need to
first
bring it
year
back.
that I've. So Michael, you don't have a sibling. Colton, you have a sibling.
Yeah.
Do you
Correct.
get your? And you have one brother, right?
Yeah.
Just the one.
I have a brother.
Do you get your?
I
two.
have multiple siblings. I have two brothers and a sister.
I don't think I've ever met your sister.
No, you haven't.
Do you get your siblings gifts?
Yes.
Because I've never done that.
What?
My brother and I are not very like the gift giving, together thing. So we just haven't done that. But this is I think the first year that I can remember I'm going to get him an actual gift.
Wow.
So
that's heartwarming.
and I've been working a steady job for a couple years. I think I can afford to at this point.
Yeah. Usually, when I was at home and when I was through college, I didn't get my brother anything. Really, well, I did, but like it was something super small. And my brother would get me something, but then he would just use my parents' money to get it for me. So it wasn't super like he got it for me, but it was like his
as
thought.
long as it's thoughtful, I guess.
It was the thought that counts. So that worked, I guess.
That's nice.
Yeah. I obviously don't have siblings, but I did, this year get my parents some stuff. My mom just recently retired. So I kind of got her a combination birthday, retirement, and Christmas present since it's all around the exact same time. And so. But it's that's the first time I've really like done that. Besides like back in school where you get your parents here's your project that you brought from school, right? Like your art project or whatever, right? So yeah, it's actually kind of nice. And obviously having a relatively stable job, you get we can now
actually afford shit now. Yeah.
Yeah. Both my parents are campers. Not my brother, but my mom, dad, and myself. We're all outdoorsy, more or less. And I went to REI and spent way too much money.
Oh man.
There's this like lantern thing I got my dad that lasts for 300 hours and can charge your phone, and it has wireless charging in it.
Wireless
like
charging.
This thing's crazy. I saw this and I'm like,
that's so extra.
He doesn't need this.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a good gift. It was too
I
expensive.
Need it.
It's like I can't help it.
And I got my mom this thing that I got, and then I'm like, I need to buy one of these for myself. I don't know if you've ever seen those it's not exactly a back scratcher. It's like the weird kind of S-shaped plastic hook that has like a ball on one end and it's pressure point things on the other sides, and you can like pull it. You can like pull. I don't know how to describe this thing. You pull it away from you, but the hook is in your back, so it like gets out knots and things like that in your shoulders.
I've never seen anything like this.
I've never seen it. Heard of.
This is alien technology.
So there's a lot of it's not a lot of rock climbing gyms. So it's hold on, actually I have it right here. But it all right, this is not good content.
Sorry, audio only listeners.
How would you best describe this thing?
Looks like a freaking torture device.
This thing's awesome. I was in line at at REI, just using it because you put it on your back and you like pull it forward, you know.
It's like a
the shoulder blades.
back massager.
Oh my god, it's kind of, but like self, and it's one of the best things ever. Like it's only $30. Like I'm as soon as Christmas is over, I'm going back to REI. I'm buying one for myself. And then you got this like there's a short hook that comes off of it, and that's like for the really tough ones because you really pull it in. Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, that's an investment right there.
I know it looks crazy, but
it does look pretty
you guys
weird.
don't know what you're missing here.
Well then.
So that's my kind of Christmas adventure.
That's good.
Cool.
That's a fun time.
It is funny you mentioned now, Colton, that there's kind of this, Christmas has lost its luster in a sense, right?
Yeah, at least for
I think we
at least
talked
for
last
me.
episode about Santa and like that getting spoiled or losing that, right? And I feel like after that point, Christmas it's just kind of like, you get gifts and such, and especially when you're in your 20s.
Especially when you have a job and you could just buy whatever you want anyways. Yeah.
Exactly.
It loses a
or
little
not
bit
only
of
that,
lust.
it's like, you get gift cards or you get like, that kind of those presents, right? It's not
right.
like,
It's like genuine.
around
like,
the Christmas tree, you get like the fancy gifts, like usually, here's some gift card or here's some gas money.
Yeah.
Although let's
know.
be real, that's like pretty valuable, especially, oh my gosh, I'd be like, hey, can I have a little bit of like gas money for driving like back and forth at college? But it's
I think what I like about it though, and I think it's still there for a bit for me and my family, because like my family will buy things that I want, but I'll never buy for myself, and that's kind of like a personal thing, just because I'm
That's
very
sweet.
frugal. So
Mhm.
I'll be like, oh man, I wish I had one of those things, but
I
I'll
can never buy for
it
myself,
because it's either it's not something I really need, but something I really want, and they'll usually get me something like that.
yeah, like a back massager.
Like a back massager.
I don't know. Something like that for me is like a TV. It's like, I want this $1,700 TV.
Yeah.
But parents, you're not going to get that for me. It's like, can't convince them to get that
I have a
for
lot
me.
of stuff like within a certain range of money that's not too expensive, but just enough where it wouldn't be, I would go out and randomly grab it. It'd have to be a thoughtful thing that I do, but not
Right.
too much that it's like impossible. So I don't know. So usually they get me something like that, which is really nice.
Yeah, I feel really uncomfortable asking for anything huge. I'm like, hey,
I never ask
can
for
I?
big things.
Bro,
Like, never would I ask for
I have-
a TV. That means
I
you're
have
crazy.
no shame. I have no shame. I like Carly's parents, my girlfriend's parents, love spending lots of money for Christmas. So I always like test the limits. I'm like, all right, you want to spend a lot of money on me? I'll literally put something on there that's like $600. Try me. If you love me, give it for me.
Jesus. Prove your love.
Prove your love for me. I spend the same amount on them as well, but like sometimes I just like putting something ridiculous. I mean, one of the dudes on Carly's family like asks for a PS5 every year because you can't get one, right? They're like really hard to sell. So he asks for PS5 every year.
$1,000
No
right
one's
now.
getting him a PS5, but he's like, maybe someone will just be in a good mood and get me that.
Maybe.
So, I test the limits. I put shit that's way too expensive on my list just to see if anyone will get it. And I'm like, thank you so much.
Now, when you give gifts, do you try to like go for something like very personal or just some in general, or like how when you try to find a gift for someone, like kind of what's your thought process there?
I try super hard to be personable. I feel like I'm not very good at getting a unique gift. The people I shop for are always like they have a very specific set of gifts that they want anyways. And it's hard sometimes to just get something that's really unique personally. That's just the environment I grew up with gifts. Like I said before, just getting a list, giving the list, getting the things on the list.
Very practical.
Yeah, very like
Direct.
Yeah. So for me, it's kind of hard unless I know the person really well, like Carly, or if I know friends really well. It's hard for me to get something really personable. But I try. I've been trying more these days.
I feel like you're pretty good at gift giving though, as a whole.
Yeah.
Like I think you've like bought me something once or twice randomly.
Yeah,
And
I
was
bought you
like, that's really nice.
I bought you one random shirt that had like the Irish flag, not the Irish flag, had some sort of Irish thing on it. And
I'm like, that's really nice.
it was like at a Salvation
and
Army.
I think I'm terrible at that. Like I never.
Oh,
Very rarely would I just be like, oh, I thought of you.
Yeah.
Even though I actually think of like my friends quite a lot, I never think of things to buy them, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bad at it.
I always feels like it's something I want to do something with them, right?
Yeah,
Let's go on an experience or something like that, not like a physical thing. But I think that's just the type of friends we hang out with tend to be, you know, in that like-minded.
Yeah, we like experiences over just objective things. That's personally me. I like that too. Or material, material things is the better word.
My favorite things that I've gifted are things that I've made. It doesn't happen very often, but like I had this friend in that I've known for a very long time, and they went to art school, and I had done a previous like trip with them, and I had a picture of them kind of like looking off in the distance, and you know, artsy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember the artist's name who does the series of paintings, and you've seen him before, like the Campbell's soup can that is kind of pop art looking, where it's four quadrants and it pops out the color, and it's all like super red and yellow and things like that.
Yeah, it's not Jackson Pollock. It's Google.
Campbell our savior.
Art.
Yeah, it's like the
Andy Warhol.
Okay, nice.
I believe it's Andy Warhol. Yeah, he does the like the Marilyn Monroe face shots of all that stuff like that. So I then took their portrait and made that art piece in Photoshop. And I gifted that in like a frame and stuff. And that was my most like proudest gifts that I've given.
That's a good one.
Really
yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
See,
it turned out
for
really
me,
well.
it's always I like gag gifts. I always like to do something personable, and then have something like get something that's like $5 or $10 that's just a meme. Like
meme gifts are great. I love meme gifts.
Most recent one is my dad works a lot, always gets stressed out. So I think it was coming back from Japan. I bought him like a stress ball, but it was the boob stress ball.
Yes.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
I think we saw those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I need to get that because he's going to laugh at that. And so, yeah, that's exactly what I got him. And I forgot, but I just wanted something, you know, simple that was just a gag and stupid, but also kind of funny.
I always like getting things like, just me as a person, I like getting things that I use, you know, because I'm very utilitarian, I like to think. So if I get a thing, I'm like, oh, that could be really useful in this situation. I like something like that usually.
Yeah, but do you find yourself
of what it is
with like your utilitarian aspect, like hoarding, like, oh, this is a part I could have like for later use or something like that?
Not for most things. Sometimes it's computer equipment, but there's a limit, and I go, I have too many of that thing, or I'm never going to use that and throw it away. So, sometimes.
I feel that. I don't know. I noticed that I tend to have that similar mindset, but I'll sometimes like hoard what you're talking about, computer equipment, cables, and all that stuff. But then also like tools, and like I've got, you know,
tools are great. You should never throw away tools.
Exactly.
There's always going to be that one tool that you need at that one point. Or
duplicates of tools. I'm like, I could always use this.
Yeah, as long as I don't have like 10 screwdrivers. Like 10's too much. I'll have like 3. Yeah. 3 screwdrivers is okay, but that's like the limit. As long as I don't get too many.
I mean, you could have
duplicates.
10, but only if they serve different purposes.
A specific purpose.
If you need a really thin, long-handled screwdriver, that's useful to have.
Yep,
right?
that's good to have. Sometimes the micro screwdrivers,
but 3
and stuff
of them,
like that.
Too many.
Oh,
3 of them, same size. I can't do it.
The giant screwdriver with like the flat head on it that you can use just to pry stuff open. I know I've got one of those, and I think it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, that would be very useful. Everything's got a purpose. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think so.
Yeah. The only thing you can't have too many of are bottle openers.
Bowel openers? Bottle openers. It's like
bottle openers.
I was like, what? A sword?
Jeez. Okay, bottle openers, because I feel like you always want to have one just like close by. Like I've got one connected to my desk right now, because why not?
I feel like you shouldn't have too many bottle openers. I think that's not a good sign.
Not a good sign? It's a sign of alcoholism? No.
Of course not.
I deny this.
We're fine.
You can't prove this? I don't know. I have one bottle opener. That's it.
I reject your reality and substitute my own. Yeah.
Well, my
I'll tell you what I.
Oh, go ahead, Sean.
Sorry.
I was about to
actually probably
completely
gonna
change
lead
the
in.
topic.
I think I was too.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you. What I recently finished watching, is what you guys have been talking about the other week. Is the Arcane series, the League of Legends Arcane. And you guys are like, yeah, you should watch this. It's gonna be really good. I was skeptical, and I watched it, and boy, was it one of the best works of television I've seen in a long time. I gotta say,
it's really good.
Are you glad you caved to the peer pressure and watched it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I will say this is gonna be heavy spoilers for Arcane.
Yeah, very
watch
heavy
the show.
about this discussion.
High recommend.
I mean, it's been a month almost.
It's been about a month, but there's so many people
internet time. That's that's a blink of an eye. You gotta have to keep up.
Yeah, and so many people haven't watched it yet. If you haven't, just do it. Just do it right now.
Go for it. It's amazing. Yeah,
but I want to say what I like about it. I think because that's in a general way, just to kind of sell somebody on it, and then I want to talk about specific things. I think
go for it
because, and I think you guys agree with me. I think that show is just like the best way I can describe it is artful. Like the whole show from front to back, everything is done with a purpose and everything looks superb. I mean, because it's an animated show, anything in it is put in by the artist with intention. Very little things in animation is just there
for no reason. Yeah, it's extra work.
It's there because it's supposed to be there, and it's the shot looks like that for a specific reason. And I think in some animation, they don't necessarily get the cinematic feel or the look, but in Arcane, all the shots looked stellar, and they looked like someone had a really good eye for direction, for cinematography. I mean, the sound design was amazing. Everything about the show I thought was just on point.
There's A+.
Whoever directed it knocked it out of the park. They did such a good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was blown away by Arcane. Like, especially it's technically 3D animated, which normally tends to be a bit. Obviously, I was coming from an anime background. 3D animation has this negative stereotype in that kind of community.
Yep,
where,
I agree.
But it can be
when
done
I think
very
3D
well.
animation, I think of Berserk 2016, which is just, god awful.
But you also got to think nowadays, like with 3D animation, because this is an American studio that made it. For some reason, Japanese.
It's French.
It was French. Yep,
really?
They're a French studio. Yep.
For some reason, Japanese haven't figured out 3D animation. But 3D animation is in every major movie nowadays, at least with motion capture. I mean, Spider-Man. There's been the one with the literal VR person with the drones and everything. And he goes to Paris. There's whole scenes that are 100% CG in that movie, and you would never know. So it's gotten to the level where quality-wise is great. And this is a stylized 3D animation in Arcane.
Yeah.
That has a very distinct look. I think it's very similar to Dishonored 2, if you've ever played that game. It's like a video game. Or what was the other one people compared it to?
I thought it was kind of like Into the Spider-Verse, if you ever saw that.
It's kind of like that, yeah. It's not. Yeah. It's its own style, but it is kind of similar if you don't have a point of reference.
It's got this kind of comic booky.
Yeah, comic booky.
But less than that, I would say.
It doesn't do the art
I think it really does
justice.
look like Dishonored 2.
Yeah.
It's like it's a painterly look in a way.
It is like it looks like a painting. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the backgrounds were painted.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes me think it's so artful, is how everything looks like you could screen cap any frame in that show and it would look like a painting.
Right. It's very...
Or it would look like a very artsy look,
Right, yeah. This show owns its 3D animation, obviously. You're kind of talking about, Sean, the Japanese haven't really figured out 3D animation. I feel like a lot of that...
they haven't.
Well, I feel like that's because strictly from like an anime perspective, they try to make 3D animation look like anime or like 2D.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that really, really well, I mean, it's just not what you want. If you want 2D animation and you're trying to make 3D animation look like 2D animation, and you're not absolutely spot on, and it's not, I don't know, it can look really awkward. I mean,
and anime is a hard look to make in 3D animation.
It is, and they're getting closer. I mean, that's a thing that they'll probably be able to do in the future, but they're not quite there yet. Arcane, obviously, it's very different from like an anime or trying to look like a 2D style. It's just, it owns its own, the animation style. Similar to like Disney films with like the 3D Disney films. It is a style and it looks good because they kind of own it. Whereas sometimes the anime style is like, they're just trying to make it look like something else.
Yeah, or fill in the gaps that because 2D animators can't animate this scene, or they don't have enough budget, so they got to fill in the gaps with 3D.
Right. Yeah.
And it ends up kind of it ends up showing, obviously, right?
Whereas Arcane
it's
all
3D.
done.
It's made for it from the beginning.
It's made for 3D. Yeah. Man, and
great. I wish I could view it in 4K. You know, I don't think it is 4K yet.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I should look that up, but it's beautiful. It really is. And if nothing else, I think that's worth watching it for. Yeah,
honestly, if you want just like to watch a very well animated show, I think it's just, if you appreciate animation, I feel like that show is just, I can't imagine someone not appreciating it if they are into like animated shows in general. Even if you like, you know, more anime style stuff.
Or you're just
like
into
Disney
cinematography.
Stuff. Yeah,
you know?
I mean, a lot of great like mise-en-scenes type stuff going on over there, or in Arcane.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and I'll get into specific scenes right now because there's some specific scenes I want to bring up.
Let's talk about it.
Well,
so spoilers, heavy spoilers right now. The scenes where Jinx, or Powder, who becomes Jinx, is like seeing, or you know, she sits on the giant fan, you know, in her kind of lair,
and she sees her like demons.
Yeah, and she sees the demons, or the guy, and she puts her dead friends, dead brothers and sisters, whatever, on the couch. Mm-hmm. There are scenes that seamlessly blend the, like, you have to. I was doubting myself rewatching it sometimes because I would see this thing on the couch. Who is the guy? I forgot his name.
One of the kids.
Yeah, the spiky hair.
Yeah,
but I would see him as the piece of trash that he is, you know, the like literal made out of trash. Mm-hmm. And then a couple frames later, he'd be the actual person or look closer to it. And then he would like fade in and out between the two. And it's shot to show how she's kind of putting him there in her mind. But how they do that is amazing and seamless, I think.
Absolutely.
And also in certain scenes where how the lights will flash around people's faces, like to give them like the devil horns or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a brilliant move, I think, that you can't do in live action and make it look
absolutely
good.
Yeah, it's that caricaturization that anime and animation in general can achieve that live action just simply cannot.
Yeah.
I really love that.
A lot of stylized stuff, yeah.
And that, as well as the subtle facial animations too, right?
Yeah, that was killer in this show.
Nuance. You can tell every single subtle emotion that this person's feeling, right? Because
you can see them thinking.
Right.
Yes. And you can understand what they're thinking just from the animation. And they
got the eye movements really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the directing. It's like, we need to portray that this character is like going through this emotional kind of path as they're doing this action. It's just
emotional
wild
turmoil in most cases.
It's just wild,
and that's trauma.
And that's where, like, you know, you can have your opinion on different animation styles. You got, like, you know, in Spider-Verse you have like the Disney stuff, but like it was just so detailed, and I don't remember seeing animation so detailed like Arcane. I don't know if I've ever seen something like that.
That's how, like, to me, it felt like a live action, but I knew it wasn't.
Yeah,
you know?
It's just wild how much care got put into like such simple scenes where they're just like, where it's just two faces like talking to each other. Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is cool about the animation in general, is you have to draw or construct each scene so everything has purpose.
Right. Yep.
You know,
It's
very hard to create something like an animation and have it look natural in a way. Like, and so many scenes in there looked natural. Like, it looked like an actual environment, but everything's purposeful. And and you can tell if you freeze frame and just look, every scene looks like there's a specific thing that should be there. I think that I love that type of thought that goes into.
Yeah. And you mentioned the natural looks too, and that was so cool with the characters themselves, right? So, for instance, you can notice like the tiny little imperfections, I guess you could say, that, you know, an actual person would be rather than like a character in a game, right? I mean, these are being pulled from League of Legends characters. Sure. And you can notice like tiny, like for instance, obviously Vi has like scars and, you know, like the lip scars and tiny like bits of tattoos, right? Caitlyn has, I think she's got like a mole and
mole
like
somewhere.
Her teeth. I don't know if you noticed, like her teeth are slightly, like she's got a bit of a tooth gap there.
I did notice teeth on several characters. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it so much more real. Even though it's obviously pull from an animation. It creates that sense of realism, like they're, you know, real actors just transferred into this animated format.
Yeah. And I think I described it to you guys before as the show is like it's the purest form of a true tragedy, I think, I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's so like everything falls apart in just like the perfect way. If that makes sense.
It's like, and it's the writing here is so good. It's just like people try, like in a lot of shows like this where you have like this tragic situation, you can kind of like point a lot of fingers of like, oh, like obviously if this character did this, if he wasn't just like an arrogant asshole or something, like he could have just swallowed his pride and explained the situation a little better, and then everything would have been better, like been all right. But a lot of the situations in Arcane, it's like people tried to take the good path and like explain themselves and do all the right things, but shit still got completely effed. And that's
a good way of describing it.
It was just so well done because I couldn't really like. I mean, a lot of characters had real issues and like flaws, like realistic flaws to them, but no one was just. It didn't feel like the writers were just writing in this thing of like, oh, this thing has to happen, so I'm going to make this character idiotic for these like 5 minutes. Everything was very purposeful. Yeah,
and it stayed true to their characters.
And I thought that was just. There's so many shows that just write shit in because they want something to happen. And I didn't feel like Arcane did that, really.
Yeah. And I felt like every action was true to their character. And like, I'm not, sitting back here like, oh, you should have done this, right? It's like, I can 100% understand their perspective and see why they did X, Y, Z, right?
Right, yeah.
Because it stays true to themselves. And,
it's like what they did made sense for them.
Yeah.
Right.
And in every case, that was what happened. And even still things didn't turn out great. I mean,
they did not turn out well.
I think. They turned out dreadful. And like, I don't know. I mean, the ending of I think the whole show did such a good job of escalation of risk, or of what's the term I'm looking for? Escalation like of
the issues?
Of the issues. Yeah. Like
just escalation.
Escalation of
all the issues, everything. Like
the words on my tongue of
like the political issues,
ramifications of what's happening.
Yeah.
So at first, it sucks, but it's not world changing, But then as the show goes on, what Jinx did at the end, blowing up all of the leaders of the city,
blowing up,
that just kills any chance of peace forever.
Yeah, kills any chance of peace.
They have a war now. I mean, there's no other response to that.
Yep. And then Vi, there's no way Vi can go back to Jinx. I mean, that basically cut off any efforts. Like, as much as Vi wants to help Jinx, there's no way she can reasonably like be with
Help her
Jinx
now.
or help her anymore.
No.
Jinx is now her enemy, no matter how
And
she
has
looks
to
at
be.
it. Has to
Yeah.
be.
And it's
not
a
only that-
tragedy.
Yes.
Yeah,
because
and
she
now-
did. Yeah.
And not only that, like Vi always like, okay, I see powder, Jinx's powder still, right? Like in her mind. But now it's okay, she's 100% Jinx. There's powder is gone.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. And it did an excellent job conveying that. I mean, obviously her sitting in the Jinx chair, but getting to that
Yes.
point too, right? Just all the trauma and suffering. Like I can 100% see her transformation, and it's totally believable of her transformation
Yeah.
from, the innocent powder to Jinx and her being a Jinx.
Did you guys like, just a curiosity question, did you guys like Jinx's character? Did you hate Jinx's character? Did you I really
liked her character.
Did you like the character but like personally hate her just because of her, like you were like, oh, why does she have to keep like jinxing every job or whatever? Like, what were your thoughts on her character?
I'll be honest, I didn't like dislike any character. Because I saw it all happen. To me, it was like I don't know how to describe it, but I was just kind of watching the play unfold, or the scene unfold, and how I didn't really have
a hatred.
I didn't form
for
a
anyone.
strong dislike for anybody, because in my mind, like, oh, they're playing that character, that's what had to happen. It strangely didn't anger me. All I could watch, or all I could feel, was like the disbelief of the cause and effect that was happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I felt, I think. So I really liked Jinx's character because she was insane and
She was
brought
insane.
that into the play. You know?
Yeah. And I totally understood her character, right? I think that goes across the board through every single character in the show. Like I understood that, transformation, and oh my gosh, like that trauma, and especially like the specific events that happened to her, how that would lead her to the point of, obviously blowing up and just causing as much chaos as possible. Same thing with like Silco, dude, a bad guy, right? But I totally understand his thought process, right?
Yeah, like I don't agree with him personally, but I can see where
exactly.
he's coming from, and I think he
Right.
was well written too. It's not like he was I want to end the world, like fuck everyone. No, he's like he's got reasons for what he's doing. He's got a perspective, and that's what he's going.
And I think
off
so many
of.
characters had dual aspects.
Yeah.
Like Silco, for example, evil guy, but is he? He legitimately cares for Jinx in his own way.
He
as was
cares
proven
for the
later in the show.
Undercity. He has his
Cares for the Undercity,
right,
but in his mind, the only way to solve the problem is to go to war.
Yep.
And
Become
I think
independent,
He
yeah.
even conceded that later. He's like, conceded all of that just to protect Jinx.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Jinx was
and
his
it's a
number one
hubris, right?
priority.
Yeah, and then I was definitely, who's the girl that the guy likes? Mel.
Mel?
Mel.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't trust her for the longest time because I thought she had some sort of ulterior motive.
yeah, like a
But
political
then,
motive.
As it progresses, and maybe she did,
Maybe
as
she
they
does,
kept
yeah.
referencing.
Mm-hmm.
But as they progressed, and I thought, maybe not. Maybe she just or has gotten wrapped up in this guy's vision and goes along with that. So a lot of characters had this kind of dual aspect to me. Not all of them, but a lot of them I couldn't figure out or changed my opinion as the show went on.
Right. They're deep characters. They're all deep. That's what it is. It's very nice to see. It's very nice to see characters that are not a part of the League of Legends Champions like franchise, because a lot of the characters in Arcane aren't in the actual League of Legends game. But it's nice to see the depth also get added to these other like minor characters, I guess. Or
they're making a show. They're not just making it based on League of
They're
Legends.
They're not saying you have to know League of Legends lore before you watch the show. This is a completely
knew nothing.
standalone thing. Yeah.
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 And
It's
even
amazing.
still, it was amazing.
Right.
But it is really interesting. You like learn more. Like I mentioned this before, but I started getting really into the lore of League of Legends now. I don't even play the game, right? But I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is really interesting. Like I remember after finishing Arcane, I'm like, that moment, one, I re-listened to the soundtrack a bunch, and then I'm like, okay, I now need to learn the lore, because like, oh, what's this whole like world now, right? I want to understand the world. and we'll see how it progresses in season 2.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that seems like will happen, and there's a lot of good routes they can take. It looks like season 2 is going to be a continuation of the story and characters that we saw in season 1. But I'm really hoping. I mean, I'm assuming that seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They can make 12 seasons of this show, but hopefully they go into the other countries and other parts of the world and start building those characters up.
Yeah, and there's so many loose ends to tie up after. The end of this.
They could go into any story.
They could do whatever they want here. Yeah, so it'll be really interesting.
The relationship between Vi and Caitlyn, Vi and Jinx. She's Singed.
There's Singed.
We talked about Warwick on an earlier podcast. I think I'm excited for that.
Yeah, because now I think the main theory is that Vander is Warwick. Somehow there's a transition there, and I'm pretty sure that's right. I don't know how that happens, but I think that's a thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's a lot of
I don't know either what you guys are talking about, but
I got to be a League of Legends
there's
fan.
Many theories for people who have or know of the lore, but you brought up sound design, Michael, and that I thought was superb as well. The songs they brought in that actually had vocals, as well as just the background soundtrack as well. Being that it's animated, I feel it can pair better because you can directly match pacing with the beat of the music, which is one of the things they did in the end of episode 5 when the Imagine Dragons enemy song, or Everybody is My Enemy song, starts to play. And that I thought is such a good scene where she's walking down the alley with that song playing, like, and her footsteps are to the beat, and you can make it match perfectly because it's animated, and you can just do that.
Mm-hmm. She's walking with that. She's walking through there. Everyone's looking at her like, okay, she's the enemy of everyone, right? That is great. Now, the other one that you mentioned, where you mentioned matching pacing, right? The one that stands out for me is actually the Echo Jinx fight, right? Because we talked about kind of the change in animation, right? And that
was another
everything
superb
like that
scene
together.
It was a good scene,
because it changes the information style, animation style, to a much more simplistic, artistic, quote unquote, style there, to show that flashback. I mean, that was absolutely stellar.
That's an amazing way to incorporate so much depth of lore or like story to that one moment.
Yeah, without
you learn so much about their previous relationship.
Yeah, without just a ton of explained exposition, you kind of just get it. I do want to say though, because I watched this show with my girlfriend Carly, so I watched it a second time with Carly, and I watched it the first time alone with me. So Carly's doesn't watch a whole lot of animation stuff, so it was interesting watching it with her to see what her thoughts were on certain things. One thing that I thought was really interesting that she didn't like about the show was the Jinx and Echo fight when they switched animation styles. She thought it was really like jarring. It was like, oh, I don't know, how would you describe it? It's like
it took her out of it.
It took her out. Yeah, it takes you out of it. Yeah, and I kind of get that. Like, if you're watching, just if things like start changing and like for artistic reasons, it can kind of take you out of the seriousness of the moment, which I guess I can understand as someone who doesn't watch a lot of animated shows. But I thought that was also kind of an interesting perspective, because to me it enhanced the scene, because it's like, oh,
I think so.
It like. Yeah, but it's interesting to get the different perspective on certain things.
Yeah, what were some of her other perspectives there? Like, so what's her thoughts on it as someone who doesn't watch animation, right? I think we've tried to have her watch Howl's Moving Castle before, and a couple other things that you mentioned.
So we've tried to get her to watch Your Name, Japanese anime, really popular. A lot of people have seen it. There's a lot of other shows we've tried watching. We watched Avatar: The Last Airbender together. She liked that a lot. But in general,
that's another good example of animation.
Yes. But I mean, this is kind of going into a discussion I also wanted to cover on this podcast, just like animation in general, and the good and bad that comes with animation. But for her, as someone that doesn't watch a lot of animation, and with Arcane being a show that's kind of grounded and dark, has some pretty dark moments, very mature scenes. to her, they don't really mix well. It's like, this is an animated show that's like, and animation's like, I only watched that as a kid or in Disney movies. So when you have the dark themes mixing with the animation style, it just doesn't really click as much for her, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
It's hard for her to really get, because Arcane, I feel like, draws you into the characters and the detail and depth that the characters have, but she doesn't really grasp, she doesn't really kind of take that all in. She doesn't really expect the characters to be super deep, so she doesn't really pay attention to all the intricacies and details of all these characters, if that makes any sense.
Expectation is a good way of putting it, because if you're not used to a darker, grittier animation, or having that in animation, then it would be a little off-putting, I can see.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I don't know the best way to describe it, because I can't think of a medium that I've seen that I wouldn't be okay with it taking a new direction.
Exactly, yeah.
Like live action obviously has lighter and darker sides to it, but if it went in a different direction, or if, you've seen art pieces, let's say, that can be dark, and art that can be just, rainbows and sunflowers.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of where I take it from. Like, I've seen art pieces that are good and bad, light and dark, and I can still derive the same amount of meaning from both of them. So I guess that's kind of where it comes into me with the animation as a moving media.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I can still derive the same amount of meaning, even though they're different subjects.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a disconnect in your thought process, right? Maybe people, we've all grown up with animation, right? And obviously, progress that, and it's that, as you're talking about it, it sounds like you view this as an art, like an art form, right? And do you view cinema as also an art form in itself too?
I mean, if it's a movie that's good, there's definitely movies that are bad movies that are not
The Room is a piece of art,
but there are definitely movies that most cinematography I tend to view as a form of art, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder if there's a disconnect there. You'd have to, obviously ask Carly about it and see her opinion on it. But
yeah,
a disconnect in how this is viewed, and as you're saying, that expectation. But,
it's interesting. I totally understand it. Maybe it's similar to like if there was a puppet show, and it's like we watched a puppet show that was really well written and dark, but they're puppets. So like,
I can see that. That's a good way of describing it.
I'd have to really like become a fan of puppetry and maybe the craft of puppetry to maybe respect it. Maybe. That's
actually a really good analogy.
I could see how it's like somewhat uncomfortable, but with all that being said, it's not like she hated the show. She really enjoyed the show. It's just there's some things that us as fans of animation really grasped onto, and that enhanced the story. It may have taken it away a little bit.
I see that.
She also. I want to bring it up. She hated Jinx. She's like, she's the worst character. And I personally,
worst written or worst morals.
She just was like, she jinxes every job. Like, she messes everything up always, which is actually a good thing. That means to me, they wrote a good character, because if you really don't like a character, that means they wrote her well.
Yeah.
And
I think
like,
so
that
too.
means if you're getting an emotional response out of it.
I mean, if you don't like her for the right reasons, if that makes sense.
I think that was correct. I just thought that was really interesting, because I also, all of us liked Jinx, but she had a very different response to Jinx. So I thought that was kind of funny.
I won't say I liked her. I'd just say I get her. Like, I get that character, right?
Yep.
Because obviously she murdered people and like
she killed a lot of
people.
No
way would I want to be around this person, but as a character in a show, I'm like, wow, this is really well written.
I understand her trauma. And I understand, like, okay, that it's interesting because it's just the domino effect, right? And I feel like she didn't really have a choice in how her life played out until I feel like the very end. At the very end, I was actually really excited because that dichotomy between Jinx and Powder, right? And that choice in a way was hers. I thought that was kind of a cool moment. Obviously, the choice was made, and I feel like
I mean, she could have gone either way, and that was what that whole table scene was about, I think.
Right.
And she just chose that no, she wasn't gonna go for Powder.
She also I took her identity. She's like, all right, I'm going with the Jinx.
Yeah.
I'm taking this as my identity rather than trying to conform to who I was before, or because obviously Vi had she projected her younger self on there, right? And
True.
Had that same, and both of them had changed so much during that time due to.
I feel like Vi not so much though, just because she was in prison the whole time and had no like development.
Yeah,
her muscles developed, that's for sure. Because damn,
that's true.
She's strong, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was actually probably the most unchanged character in the whole show.
I think so. Now that you mention it, she kind of just.
I feel like Caitlyn was the most unchanged.
Her too.
But
I think she did change a lot because
she had a perspective
because
for the
she
Undercity,
learned about the underworld.
Oh, okay, that's true. Yeah, but I feel like she was the same. When she was younger, she was like headstrong, stubborn, and also like had this idea of like right and wrong, right? And a strong moral compass internally, right? She doesn't really play by the rules, right? There was that the Curimans, you can't control them, right? I think that was one of the lines the sheriff said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, she definitely developed that understanding, and I guess same for Vi too. She could find the appeal of the upper city, not just Caitlyn appealing, but
yeah. She found.
I mean, that's such a dichotomy, the upper city and the lower city.
It's a good
oil and water, man.
It's just
a really good visualization.
Yep, just good symbolism in general. Like it just explains itself, kind of the whole situation. The politics of the whole show were really good. Kind of just going back to the whole writing of the show in general. It really does a good job of just showing how sometimes people think politics are just dumb and it's like can be easily avoided. But this show, I mean, sometimes it's just really hard. Sometimes there's way more to the story than that leads to the
there's
eye.
A lot of gray.
A lot of gray area, a lot of different perspectives, different people making decisions. It's just really messy sometimes. And I feel like the show portrays some of that messiness really well.
Yeah. Speaking of the politics of the show, and something that I felt hasn't really been talked about too much, I really actually like the politics of Jace and Mel, because they come in at opposite sides, right? Like I think in the beginning, Jace is the Wonder Boy, right?
Right.
Big ego, but also like he tries to do stuff the right way, correct?
Right. Yeah. He's got a good heart. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, all right, we gotta, I think it's the first thing is like, after Jinx
cut out the corruption and all these
cut out the corruption.
purchases.
Mm-hmm.
Shut down that. And Mel's like, okay, you got to be realistic about this, and I like that dynamic there because it shows Mel is the realist about this, but also she's totally cool with the corruption and has a bit she's playing the game.
She feels like she has that some sort of ulterior motive, like I brought up before. But then
I don't know
I think
about that.
They converge in a way. I think, like you're saying, Jace slowly learns,
quote unquote.
Yeah, they converge quite a bit.
Yeah.
But Jace learns about how he needs to be more lenient and accepting of some of the not so niceties of society, and Mel kind of gets caught up in his vision of the idealist, and that's where they end up, I think. Right before all of that's dashed to ashes.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if all of them die or if Mel will survive that one.
They must all die. I mean,
I don't know.
Right?
It's a big boom. It's a big thing.
I don't think Jace
mega
dies.
Bomb or whatever it is.
Because I think Jace is not that him being a legend in League of Legends means he'll survive, but I think he will survive because he is a legend in League of Legends. I know.
I mean, the dude is
Victor's got to survive too, man.
He's gonna
yeah, he
live.
is. Yeah.
I think the Caitlyn's mom is going to die.
Yes,
no doubt.
And I
mean, that bomb hit that wasn't like a knock down the tower. It's ambiguous. That was directly into the room.
Yeah. Blowing that shit up.
Yeah. And isn't it wild? It's like the mega nuke in the game, right? That's like the name of it. It's just a gigantic bomb.
Yeah. It's like her ultimate in the game. That is her ultimate.
Yeah.
It's that bomb, that nuker.
Oh, really? That's clever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how that changes things. Like, I definitely think
I'm excited for season 2.
I want Victor to figure out magic. I mean, I felt that like they were really close.
Yeah, Victor is interesting because he is in the League of Legends game. He is a much different character. It seems like. So I'm interested. He's got a lot of development left. I think he's
partially, part machine.
He's like
sort of
part
now. So
machine thing, yeah. And I don't want to spoil it for you, Sean, because you don't know the character. But I think he's got a lot of development left in the series because he's.
I hope he lives.
Same
very
with
different.
Echo, right? Because Echo has to
Echo
get his ability too.
Yes, they alluded to his ability so much, which is fun.
It was great though
because Sean doesn't know what it is, but they
I don't think I
allude.
do.
He grows and is they allude to his growth, so to speak.
The old dude, the old
Heimerdinger,
little furball thing, Heimerdinger. Who?
Heimerdinger,
What was his name?
Heimerdinger.
Heimerdinger. Yeah, that guy. I thought his character was interesting too. Like that was also a very unchanged character, but he's
like 300 years old.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting having someone that lives that long around so many humans.
Yeah,
because that's where
his
one
hubris.
of the major the hubris or one of the major challenges comes in, because he doesn't understand, seemingly doesn't understand the goals of someone with shorter lives.
Yeah.
And apparently they said like he wasn't old yet. I mean, he'd lived for a lot more time.
Yeah.
So
and also he didn't have that same perspective of like the other council members, right? Who were kind of corrupt and like, dealing illicit substances, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, we must come together as one and be one, right? And he's speaking almost somewhat condescendingly down to, these normal humans, right? And so he's not, whereas someone like Mel, or as Jace learned, right? You got to work with them, and, they need to want something that you can give, and vice versa, right?
Right.
Work with them. Right?
Like they kept on saying like soon, like he wants more testing. But to someone who can live forever, or let's say 500 years, soon is like
it's like
5
10 years. Yeah, it's
that's
wild.
a long time, and in human years that is a very long.
That's
time.
a huge part of your life. Yeah.
So it's interesting the need structure between them. Like he doesn't have the same urgency because he can't. I don't think.
Yeah.
And that's one of those
need to have
that I think always develops in between societies that live like in fairy tales and sci-fi and fantasy. People who live longer tend to have that sort of perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Lord of the Rings is the one I go to in that regard, right? Because you have the elves who live for forever, right? They live for millennia and millennia, whereas versus the humans who only live for standard human years, except for the Dunedain, but that's a different story. Yeah. But
and dwarves live long too in most stories.
Yeah, I think they live
but
a
not as long as the
years.
elves. So
yeah, and that perspective, and the elves are always
changes.
portrayed as green, but I think we're getting away from ourselves. I do like though, going back to Heimerdinger, him going to the Undercity and then spending time with Echo and seeing
that was kind of cool
perspective, right?
Yeah.
Learning how terrible it is down there.
Yeah. And I like the contrast with him and Victor, right? Where Victor and he started out, I think he was
the assistant.
His assistant, right? And they slowly, they're both scientists, but they slowly separate over, Victor becoming sicker and also just wanting to, help people in general, right? And he has this great motive, but then obviously, with this crazy, was the hex crystal or whatever it is. Hex core, yeah. The crazy, it almost looks like some demonic thing, right? And it's like, all right, he's trying to help people. His goal is noble, but we'll see where that takes us, right?
Yeah,
he's
like the best.
Already sacrificed the one assistant lady.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah, that sucked. Dude, that quote, the quotes in some of the quotes in this show were really good too. I think the quote in there was like, we tried to do great and end up doing no good, or something like that.
Yeah.
That was such a good quote.
In the pursuit of greatness, we failed to do good.
Yep, in the pursuit of greatness, we failed to do good. Those who shine brightest end up burning fastest. Thought that was a good one too.
It's like with great power comes great responsibility kind of quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, very simple but elegant.
Yeah, there's a lot of good quotable moments, a lot of good screen capable screens. Like I really want to have some of those shots
Backgrounds?
as my like wallpaper
Yeah.
on my computer.
Honestly, I think
Jinx
the show
holding the flare.
Yeah. Some good just backdrops too. There's some shots where it's like the characters are very small and it just shows the huge backdrop of whatever's happening there, which is really, really cool.
But I kind of cut you off there, Colton. You're going to mention something?
Oh, I forgot already, I think. Oh, I was honestly, I was just going to say in general, like I personally think Arcane is just really good TV in general. Like if you're to,
I would agree.
If you're to, I think just TV in general, like it takes everything and puts it together in such a good form. Like it's hard. It just does everything right. And it's what TV should be.
Yeah.
It's just a good show.
I'll admit, I'm that asshole who keeps, like, any person I meet, right? I'm like, dude, have you watched Arcane? Like, my uncle was in town for Christmas, and he lives overseas. And I was like, dude, you gotta watch this on the flight back. Download it to your phone, like, do whatever you can, right? And well, he also likes like French animation and stuff like that. So I was like, dude, this is in your ballpark.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. That's right in his wheelhorse.
Oh yeah, I keep telling my parents, you guys gotta watch this. Like,
have you convinced anyone?
Everything.
Have you convinced anyone to watch Arcane that's may not be a typical animated show watcher?
I've not checked back. It's basically just been UDP, me just like pushing this onto people, like, you need to watch this. You need to watch this. Hence why I said I'm the assholes doing that right now.
Yeah.
So I gotta chill out about that maybe.
Too many people yet, but I still need to get my parents too. So no progress on that.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear their perspectives. Because Sean, have they watched any other animated shows that were not like Disney films? Or
I think so, but they don't really have an issue with watching animated stuff.
Okay.
Maybe a slight aversion to it, but nothing that's like major.
Mm-hmm.
They will watch it. I think it's just going to take them some time, and whether or not they like the story or not is a different matter.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think
but that sort of sci-fi fantasy stuff is stuff that we watched before. So
yeah, it's just going to be the medium that is going to be kind of the. I feel like that's everyone's kind of trepidation there, where it's the medium that of animation that you're like, oh, it's not for me. I feel like that's a lot of people I talk to.
That's it's interesting because I think medium, as we've talked about before on this podcast and before on this one, animation medium is just such a good medium in general.
Limitless
I think
potential.
it's limitless, and there are so many things you can portray that aren't cheesy, quote unquote, that don't break the immersion if it's in 2D or 3D as opposed to live action. It's
well, I mean, stuff that quote unquote breaks the immersion is something that is good to do in anime because, or in animation as well, because you can't do it in real life. You can't have certain extreme expressions because you can't do that. You can't contort your face actually, but if you send it to the extreme in animation, then it sends a deeper message or a greater message, I think.
Heightens that experience.
There is a point where it becomes comical, but you can
And
go
sometimes,
before that point and it's still extreme and it's still meaningful.
Yeah.
Are there any other shows that you can think of that have just amazing animation?
Amazing animation in general.
Well, we brought up
Avatar?
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's a good show that a lot of people I feel like can appreciate, even if they're not.
And that's
super
definitely
into
a
animation.
kid's show.
Yeah,
But for just purely the animation style, it's a lot more fluid than most animations, and a lot more grounded and real.
I don't know, man. Kids show, the first season definitely, and you mentioned like the super expressions, right? Because they do that, right? I can
a
imagine
lot of that.
like Sokka in that. It's like, crazy eyes. They expand, go off model a lot. But dude, third season of Avatar: Last Airbender, that gets pretty dark.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets dark and deep. You got to decide the fate, life and death. The direction of a whole world.
Right.
It's a lot to deal with.
I feel like Avatar is just such a good way to like bridge the gap between a kids show and maybe a darker style animation, though, because if you start like, okay, I watched Avatar with my girlfriend, as I've said before, and when she went into it, it was a lot easier because you go into it knowing it's a kid's show and they're like, oh, it's got good animation, it's got a cool story maybe, so let's just watch it. So when you go into it with that perspective and then Avatar just slowly leans on the darker themes as time goes on, that becomes a lot more easier to digest, I feel like. And that's why I feel like, I don't know, and Avatar is a good show in general if someone's willing to put up with watching a kid's show, I guess, in their adult life. Yeah. It's a good way to kind of, it's a gateway. Yeah. It's a gateway show. Yeah.
It's the gateway drug.
It's interesting. Yeah. If it's just too jarring for some people. Obviously, if you went right into like an anime, that's like way out here. But Avatar is a good starting spot for stuff like that.
Did you guys ever watch Korra?
I did. Yeah,
I did. I did not watch Korra
because this may be contentious, but I think actually Korra had some better animation. One, because they ran it at 60 FPS versus
it's like almost double the frames.
The
amount of
versus
animation
24
cells.
Of more than double.
Yeah,
I've seen some scenes of Korra, and it looked really good. Like
Korra looks really good.
Some of them were absolutely
insanely
falls flat
sometimes,
good.
But the animation at the very least is superb.
Yeah, that I felt had extremely good animation, and it's very fluid, obviously due to the frame weight. But I think it was the exact same studio, right, who did Avatar, just up the frames.
Yeah.
What about? Did you guys ever see Castlevania? I'm pretty sure you guys all did, right?
Yeah,
I haven't. I want to watch it really badly. I want to so badly. I know it's good,
dude. If you want excellent animation.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm actually gonna. I'll say I don't think the animation in Castlevania was as impressive as most. It was still good and it got the point across, but there was definitely scenes where it didn't quite. It looked a little
choppy,
maybe too stylized or a little choppy, and that could be just the style. But
see, that's why I like it. Is I felt that the choppiness actually added to the style, which sounds really weird because you want that fluid animation, as we're talking about, Korra, but that choppiness, especially on like some of the explosions where, and I think they did a lot of ones and twos, right, where they animate on ones and twos, so they every other frame they move different. But
well, I mean that kind of goes into my point about animation being art in a way, because you and me see the same thing and draw different conclusions.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of how people interpret art, is they see an art piece and be like, I don't get that. And some people, it's the deepest thing in the world. So that happens a lot. And I think with Castlevania, I really like the story, and the animation was fine enough. I overall recommend the show, and it was very good. But would I consider the animation top tier? I don't think I would. Personally, like the effect that it brought to me.
What is a top tier animated show in your opinion?
Arcane.
Arcane,
yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, definitely. But
that's like so. Wait, can we? I just want to say, is Arcane like the best 3D animation you've seen as a whole? You think, or is there better?
I think
even
probably
better than Pixar movies.
I think it's super
Pixar's
subjective.
Tough.
I think it's super subjective though, because Arcane's on a totally different style. I think Arcane goes in the same discussion as Into the Spider-Verse, which is also extremely good.
Yeah.
But it's also extremely like its own style.
It's its own style.
I wouldn't say, maybe I wouldn't call it the best, but it is top tier.
Okay.
If I had a tier where I ranked everything, it would be at the top with several others probably.
Yeah. Arcane is just, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen a lot that's much better than Arcane. I think it's very subjective. But I think it's better than Disney movies just because I like the style a lot more. Or Pixar movies, I guess.
I'm with you.
There's
better than Frozen.
Yes, better than Frozen.
Undeniably. There's several anime movies that I've seen that have very good looking scenes, There's an anime called Garden of Words, which it's a pretty slow movie.
That's Makoto Shinkai, right?
I think so.
That's the same guy who did Your Name, yeah.
Yeah, that everything just looks gorgeous. Like you've probably seen pictures and screen caps, but there's like a rain scene where like water's dripping off leaves into a puddle, and there's reflections in the puddle, and it looks beautiful.
And it's all hand animated,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that is just beautiful animation. I'll see if I can pull up a list of some of the movies that I've seen, and that might give me a better
Yeah, when I think of
way to list
beautiful animation, I think of that all the Makoto Shinkai movies. The ones I've seen are Your Name, did I see Garden, and then you've got the weather one. I forget the name of it.
Oh, Weathered with You. I think
Weathering
is
with
that
You?
one or Weathering with You.
Yeah. Yeah, the weather one. That one, and then Silent Voice. Also,
Silent Voice was
excellent.
good. I like that.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it's that one's top tier, but I think animation at least, but story wise, lovely.
Mhm. I mean, I just finished.
See, I thought that was actually better than Your Name
Really?
animation. Yeah,
I don't know if I'd agree.
I think maybe it's because of the style. Like I liked when it goes off, or Your Name definitely has like the explosion scene in Your Name is god tier.
I mean, there's a No Game No Life 0 movie from that show.
Mm-hmm.
Has some of the best animated explosions I've ever seen.
I need to rewatch that
Like
movie.
there's one early on where like a dragon nukes a town essentially.
Yeah.
It looks stunning, and the sound design along with it is amazing too.
I think we've seen it. Yeah, I think we've all seen that one. Yeah.
I've seen it, but I
I'll
watched
have
it in
to rewatch
240p, so I need to rewatch it.
So
yeah.
not great.
Watch that again.
Yeah.
What about you, Colt man?
I mean, I have, as you guys know, I've been watching Demon Slayer. I have gotten to episode 19, which was the really good fight.
Oh,
Very, very good animation there.
it's ufotable.
It's ufotable.
Yeah,
It's
can't go
very.
wrong with that.
It was as good as people talked it up to be. I think.
Is that the one with the kind of weird looking room with the demons?
It's the spider guy.
No, that's
Spider
Spider
Guy.
Guy.
Not the room.
Gotcha.
That's when he does like the
Well, he
fire,
probably hasn't gotten there yet, so I don't want to say
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
That's when he does the water.
He does the.
the spider, it's so good.
Yeah.
Spider-Man,
He, has,
yeah.
he makes his
Cuts
sword
the
on
guy's head
fire.
off.
Yeah,
It goes crazy.
and
Yeah.
you've seen Zenitsu.
I have, yes. This is a completely other topic, but I don't hate the character as much as I used to. We'll talk about that another time, but I think the show is more tolerable now. I had an issue getting, when I met Zenitsu, getting through the show after I met him.
Yeah.
But long story short, I find the character much more tolerable, and so I'm going to continue watching it, I think.
Yeah.
So, but
I will say, sorry.
I was just kind of thinking of like animation in general, like the best animation that I've seen. I haven't actually watched a lot of.
There's a movie I'd bring up.
Oh, go ahead.
Again,
Yeah.
that has so obviously Your Name, very good, but the Sword Art Online movie,
man.
Ordinal Scale,
Oh man.
has some superb
man.
animation.
I'm just gonna walk out of
I
here.
gotta
They got the
say,
budget.
it's
Yeah.
they have the budget.
That's true.
Everything was so clean, and that was before the most recent season had come out, which is also super clean as an animation. But the movie itself has some amazing, sword play in it.
Fair enough.
Very cool, gotta say.
Still cringe anytime you bring it up.
So cringe, Mike says.
I am. Yep. I think we've beleaguered this point, but
Yeah.
SAO and Sean and I disagree heavily on SAO. But yeah,
What else
except
is-
for I actually didn't really like.
Alicization.
I tolerated Alicization. I won't say I really liked it, but it was
Alicization is
better.
one of the best ever.
the best ever, Sean says.
Now, what are your thoughts on something like Trigger? Because Trigger has a very specific animation style that you can pretty much, you look at it once and you're like, okay, this is definitely a Trigger show. For instance,
basically
it's pretty obvious which Star Wars Visions episode was animated by Trigger.
Yeah. Like it's
Yeah,
basically over exaggerated anime art style for those who don't know Trigger. Is that right? Is that basically a good
I would say so.
It's
I
the
think
most
they got
anime
good
art
sometimes.
style.
Yeah, I think if you're into that and they do some, if you just think about the technicality of the animation, I feel like it's quite good, and I appreciate it a lot when I watch it. But I haven't seen a ton of stuff by Trigger.
I think I like Trigger. I like how they operate, and I like when things go off the deep end sometimes. It's because I think it adds to the show, or it adds to the show a lot. Sometimes it depends. I mean, not every show benefits from that.
Mhm.
Not every movie benefits from that. But that it can help accentuate a situation or over exaggerate a situation, and that to me can add to the story.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
that's what I feel. Yeah, that's why I think it's the most anime art style, because it just pushes that to the max. What about? All right, it's maybe a bit of a hot take, but I think when I look at food, especially in anime, I feel like animated food looks better than actual food.
I agree.
I agree too. I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's freaking food looks beautiful in 2D animation. It looks absolutely gorgeous.
Have you guys seen Howl's Moving Castle?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Studio Ghibli.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where they're cooking eggs and bacon on a fire.
Yes.
Oh, I remember the scene. It just looks amazing.
It looks like
absolutely
the best cuts of
fantastic.
bacon. The
Yeah.
eggs look superb. I mean, come on. Why does it look so good?
Yeah,
I feel like there's someone at every studio who's just dedicated to making amazing looking food.
Like, we need to drop bacon.
Yeah.
Call the
Get
guy.
the bacon guy. Get the bacon
what was
guy.
that? I think we were watching the Demon Slayer movie, right? Like, in like that first section where they're like at the
They're making
umai, right?
Delicious.
At the ramen
Udon.
joint, right? The very beginning
Yeah.
with the he's like just eating that, and they take like an entire minute and a half just showing the
the
process
food.
of creating the ramen and like the rituals that they go through just to make this this bowl of ramen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. I want a bowl of ramen now. I'm so fucking hungry.
And Food Wars and Restaurant to Another World, which I've talked to you about. I mean, Restaurant to Another World, the majority of the episode is showing if the food is on screen, I would say.
That's great.
Or showing the construction of the food or the eating of the food. And I mean, it's if you like food, you just got to watch it.
Yeah.
I think.
It just makes me so hungry though. That's the bad thing. Every single time. I remember back in college, we'd be watching Shokugeki, Food Wars, and we'd be like, after every single episode, I'm like, okay, I need to either make something or just go to the cafe now and eat, because
It's like,
I'm
I need
so
to eat.
freaking hungry.
Yep.
Yeah.
It showed it's so good at
100%.
making me hungry.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm trying to look at other Trigger shows right now. Just see if
What about? Are you guys familiar with Kyoto Animation?
What shows
their
have they
stuff is top notch.
What shows have they done?
Kyoto Animation. I'm trying to think of the one that everybody's seen. Do you have an example, Michael?
Q&A. I'm trying to think of. Is it Hyoka? I think is the one. They did. I haven't seen too many of their stuff.
Let me check.
I know the studio.
It is Kyoto Animation. Here.
Oh, Silent Voices. Violet
Score.
Evergarden.
Oh, Silent
Violet
Voices
Evergarden.
Oh, Violet. Yeah.
Silent and Violet Evergarden's beautiful.
I've heard that show that movie is extremely good. Violet
the movie and the show. I don't think I've I think it's the show where the most episodes that I've like had tears. You know,
Yeah.
I've cried. Is that show? It's really impressive. Kobayashi, Keion, Hibiki, the instrument one.
Yeah.
Keion again, Hyoka. They tend to do. Oh, they made Full Metal Panic, one of my favorites, as we had discussed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
They have a very unique style, especially their newer stuff. Oh, they made Free.
Yeah. I guess they're really good at drawing water, so makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, all good stuff. Yeah.
Very good.
Animation, in general, I think allows you to do so much. It allows you to do so much that nowadays in live action you need CGI to do. So eventually, it's all going to bridge together, I think.
Do you guys have any good examples of like animation in video games? You think?
Not really. I don't think video games actually. I mean, the whole thing is animated, but it's all 3D. The best animation in video games is like when there's cutscenes, but I don't consider it animated.
I think it's
because it's
all
all
animated.
rendered in a live engine. You know?
I think it's all animated though. That just means it's all animated.
Yeah.
That's not animated. It
it could be like mocapped. Like, doesn't that count as animation?
No, that's CGI.
That's animated.
Is CGI animation?
No. Yeah, exactly. That's by definition animation.
No.
What?
It's not.
You just said it was CGI animation. That means it's animation.
No. I said they're different things. I said CGI and animation are two different things. CGI is computer generated something. What's the I stand for?
Images, I think.
Images, probably.
Images definition. Hold on.
Computer generated
okay.
images. Isn't that kind of just like animation?
Computer generated imagery. Okay.
Imagery.
Now, what is animation?
Computer generated images. It's like everything's computer generated. Digital cameras, but
the technique of photographing. No, that's not right. Animation is a method in which figures are manipulated to appear as moving targets. In traditional animation, images are drawn or painted by hand on transparent celluloid sheets to be photographed or exhibited on film. Today, most animations are made with computer-generated imagery.
Proving yourself wrong, Sean.
Yep.
I think they're different somehow, though.
Well,
okay,
you could. They're not. I don't think they're different, but I think to you they mean different things. Maybe CGI is less artistic.
Maybe that's how it is.
Is that how you maybe are qualifying it? Less artistic, video games or something.
Yeah, because I think some video games are artistic. Landscapes,
Mm-hmm.
placement of things. That's definitely artistic. The story is artistic, but I wouldn't say a video game is animation. More. I guess. Now a cutscene, like up until like Xbox One era, when you could live render cutscenes. Before then, they would physically cut. That's why they're called cutscenes, because they would cut to an actual video file that someone had pre-rendered.
Yes.
The studio had pre-rendered it, and that's it. That's animation, I would say. Because it was actually pre-animated before it. But if it's done live, then I don't think it's animation.
See, but I think you can make the
But
argument.
don't you count like the little animations for video games? Like
like what about the
someone
Persona
equipping
series?
a weapon or
Persona series is just like animated
That's tough,
animation.
Too. All right, maybe they are the same. maybe I'm just being nitpicky. Something about it seems different. Like
Sean being competitive.
I've been playing a lot of Halo Infinite recently, and that's one thing where they've actually done the transitions between cutscenes seamlessly.
Seamlessly, it's all like what is that word? When they're
seamless.
Are they pre-rendered?
They're not pre-rendered.
They're not pre-rendered.
They're all live.
It's the opposite.
They're all live rendering in engine.
Yeah, there's a word for it. There's
no cutting. It's like I'll be in perspective, and then I'll get to a moment, and then my vision will just pull back to be.
That's weird.
To be like
it's
to see
like,
the whole
like
scene.
GTA. Like
you
die in GTA.
It goes like third person, and the camera starts moving around, and then it starts actually doing cuts. But from how you can kind of tell when things are rendered live versus when they're pre-rendered.
Yeah.
At least I can, I think. And this definitely looks rendered live.
Yeah.
I think.
I've seen some funny instances of the Halo Infinite cutscenes where like, they're like at a place, and then the AI like turns on a switch, and it like turns on, it like blows something up. But then it happens like one of the soldiers are right by the thing that blows up, so it blows the guy out. It's like
that's how you know it's live. I think
that's the best part about live things, when like the little I don't know, where the character's not supposed to be in the area actually is.
Yeah.
It just gets blown apart.
Well, and you've seen the things, the memes, like when your custom character's in a cutscene. It's just like this freakish dude sitting there.
My favorite ones is always when, I don't know if you've ever I think Skyrim, right? Whenever you play Skyrim, example. I've had a couple instances where that first cutscene in the very beginning. This is in engine where you're you're finally awake. That meme.
Oh, but
where something will hit. I think there's like a little bee or something like that will come across, and it'll just destroy the carriage, and you're like goes spinning. And you're like, what's going on?
Yeah,
it's just like it's wonderful. Or you ever had like the moment where you're in a cutscene and then something's clipping through, like you have a dead body that clips through, and it's just extending its arm across the entire way.
I think that's why I don't think it's animation, because to me animation is planned out. Like I'm planning an animation, I have animated it. If it happens live, it's not planned. It kind of just happens.
Chaos.
So to me, that's not animation.
Yeah.
I think.
I think that, like, say for a fighting game, like the movements and like when characters are fighting, the inputs, like those specific move sets can have good animation, if that makes sense. Like
like move sets are animated.
Because that's technically, by your definition, it would be like planned. When I press square, he punches. That's a planned movement.
Right.
But like the cut, I can see where you're coming from. Like the cut scenes might not be.
Yeah, or like the move,
totally
like
there.
When you're watching Super Smash Brothers, blah blah blah, Super Smash Brothers Brawl, what have you, on the screen, would you say you are, shoot, my argument just fell apart in my own head. I just disproved myself as I was thinking about it. I was gonna say, would you consider yourself animating the scene? But then machinima is a type of animation that uses
the models, right?
The game to be the animation. I just disproved myself.
I think you're just wrong, Sean.
Or SFM.
I think you have to accept the live stuff is all animation.
I don't want to be wrong. I hate being wrong.
No, those were fun though. I remember back in the day in early YouTube, that was all the rage. I mean, they had the entire Machinima channel, right?
Yeah, but Machinima used to be a thing.
Think about Red versus Blue, right? I mean, that's more in your ballpark.
I think
there.
It's still going
Halo
on.
Actually, was that all just like you'd have these fights, these crazy fights between the people, and it would be like really well choreographed and stuff? Is that what that was? Red versus Blue? Was there a story there? Like,
no. There's a story there. Initially, it was just like recording the screen without the HUD, and then they're like moving the bodies to work. And then eventually, they introduced CGI.
I see.
To it to actually animate fight scenes and make it look like a show. And now I don't think it. I think the whole thing's animated.
Yeah, it's
animated,
like put in.
As I was too.
Yeah,
because you use like Gary's Mod or Source Engine, right?
Yeah,
I've seen so many things made in Source.
Yep.
And they'll like just like throw it together. That's a lot of fun.
I remember.
Yeah. Sorry.
You're good. I remember. Did I ever show you guys Dead Fantasy? Remember that?
I don't think so. No.
Dead Fantasy, dude. It was by this one guy who did. I think he did some of the Halo fight scenes, whether it was part of Machinima or whether it was some other studio that he helped with. I don't know what he worked on specifically, but Dead Fantasy was like he basically got all the models from like the Final Fantasy series and then the Dead or Alive series, if you guys know that. And then he just had them fight each other.
Yeah.
It was really well choreographed, and his work was so well done. I thought it was just a random thing I thought of when
only animated thing I can think of, like in that realm, right? And like the Source animation thing that you showed me, Colton, and I'm so glad you showed me because now I'm traumatized, which is Shrek is Love.
Oh, Shrek is Life. A classic series. Everyone should watch it.
Oh,
Better than freaking Arcane.
Is so cursed.
Arcane's,
there's so much cursed videos that Colton has showed me over the years.
Have you guys seen the full series? Like everyone's seen the
what
first.
Does that mean,
yes, you showed me the full series.
The first video, everyone's seen the Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life, but there's like 5 parts, and it's it gets way worse. Like the second and third part, it's a whole development.
I think we were drunk one night in Shaw, when we were roommates, just fucking watching the thing. You're like, you gotta watch this, man. I'm like, what the fuck?
You showed us Potato Knishes as well.
Potato Knishes, yeah.
Oh gosh,
I think we've talked about that on the podcast before. Yep, Potato Knishes was pretty fun. It was weird. I don't know how I found it. I think it was on my recommended after some weird.
The fact that it's this guy in Minecraft, like with these weird modded Minecraft thing.
Yeah, freaking strange.
Oh, man.
Freaking strange.
Yeah, Little King John.
Now that's animated.
That's animation. That's high tier animation.
Yeah, that is really, dude. Oh god, because they use Minecraft as the background, right? And then they've got they've got this animated figure that is extremely cursed looking.
Well, you guys, I guess have I've shown you guys Super Roller Legend, right? I think.
What?
Wait a minute. Is this where they're racing?
Yeah, they're racing. These buff dudes are racing down a road.
Yeah, they're OP.
And then
they're awesome. That's a great video.
It's got this super weird song. The whole thing's in like 240p.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
If you've ever seen
beautiful.
that, you should watch it. It's pretty cursed.
But it's a good
Be
curse.
forewarned.
You know, you have cursed things that are good and bad. It's like getting cursed, but the cursed thing ends up being good. That's a good curse.
I feel
Is
that
it
that's
like you and
such
spicy
Zoomer
food?
humor, though. You know, like or millennial Zoomer humor or something like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Humor.
This weird
I've not
animated
seen
stuff.
Yeah. What's that? There's a famous one too. Is it Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared?
Oh,
like that's-
yeah.
That's weird. That one's creepy.
That's just strange. Yeah.
That one is existentially creepy. Yeah. But I mean, that's what animation's so good at, right? It just
yeah. And that one's traditionally animated because it's like claymation, I thought.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe digital claymation.
There's
That's
late
a
for meeting,
entire different thing.
going to the store.
Late for meeting.
You've seen that one? There's actually a new one. It's the one with it's this one CGI where it's like this guy
Mannequin?
This mannequin guy.
Making my way downtown.
Yeah,
Is that
pretty much that.
Yeah.
But
That
it's-
one is
And
amazing.
he just like
They have-
flaps around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
he
this
flies
guy.
around.
He has a YouTube channel called David Lewandowski. Lewandowski? I think I got that right. And he's just made this really weird animation that's like a minute long. And it has 83 million views.
Wow.
This is
More views than this podcast might ever get. Gosh.
forever. It has 1 million likes.
Jeez.
Wow.
How many dislikes? Oh wait, you can't see that anymore.
Oh. Boo, YouTube.
I thought he had a fourth one, but I only see 3 videos here.
Dude, that.
Oh, no.
that-
Sorry. There was going to the store, late for meeting, and then the new one was time for sushi.
Oh,
And it's
I can
5
relate.
minutes long.
It's time for sushi.
And it's got 11 million views.
Oh god.
I remember watching that one recently, and it was weird.
Dude, all those are just extremely weird.
They are
I don't even know how he
weird.
got on that topic. But
I don't know.
The
Animation.
cursed the cursed videos you shown us, Colton. That's what it was.
Yeah, Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life. Yeah, that was a good time. I recommend everyone watch it. It's definitely good for your mental health and anything related to that.
I
Yeah.
don't know about that.
Content warning right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's that's a bit fucked. It is.
it's quite fucked.
But is that kind of? You're right. That is Zoomer humor though, of just these strangely odd. I don't know.
Just stuff that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like a picture of a guy. Like if you go to surreal memes on Reddit,
That is
That's
the
total
definition of
Zoomer
surreal
humor.
memes. Yeah, that's like the definition of surreal memes right there.
like
Yep, or
the
just-
you thought meme, like that's
Yep.
stuff that is so out of context.
Suck.
Suck. That's a good one.
That's a beautiful one. Yeah, that and they'll like just bake it and then or deep fried,
Yeah,
not
deep
baked.
fried memes where everything's just like,
And
I
you're
don't,
like,
deep
wait,
fried is the
what
best
is
way to
this?
describe it.
Did you guys actually like
Yeah.
deep fried memes when they came out? Honestly, I think they're hilarious, and I feel like
I don't. It doesn't jive.
I think they're, for whatever reason, when I see like, it's just like a stupid joke with like a bunch of emojis and then also the deep friedness of the meme. I just find it hilarious.
Well, of course you would like that.
Yeah.
That's like your whole MO.
Yeah.
It's just this
my MO,
weird humor.
My MO with memes is
Chaos
like,
Gremlin.
what is it? Just shock value. I love shock value. If things just pop
You like
off,
weirdness,
weird. I like
You
weirdness, but
oddities.
shock value comes from weirdness, I think. Like
Yeah,
things
I
that
can
are
see that.
weird, like are very shocking. Often, at least. That's why I like there's just weird.
This
humor.
water is.
I think you're just a
this
chaos
floor is
gremlin.
made of floor. I mean,
Gee.
oh boy, there's a lot of good memes out there.
memes.
Yeah.
We should do
Well,
a
that's an
meme
entire
review.
different-
We should do a tier list together,
Oh
guys.
god, yeah.
Our favorite memes.
Our favorite memes, meme 3x3 or meme tier list. I could.
Meme tier list easy. It's too. There's so many
Templates.
memes. It's impossible.
It is impossible. You get
Yeah.
the best memes. Like
There's some great templates. out
Ugandan
there, man.
Knuckles is my S tier meme. That is S tier meme.
He came back recently.
He did.
Yeah.
Uganda Knuckles came back.
Because
for-
Knuckles is going to be in the new Sonic movie.
Oh,
Are
really?
you happy about that, Sean? Sonic.
Oh,
your favorite.
shoot. Yeah. Can we
Nope.
watch that? Can we
Definitely
stream
not.
that? I don't know if we can stream that.
Stream?
legally.
No.
We should stream that and get
I
our
don't
reactions.
think we can. Oh boy.
Oh god.
I would love to do that. We gotta get on Twitch, guys. Twitch.
We could use Twitch. It's just the time requirements is immense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got time.
Sure. Yeah. I'm down for it one day, definitely.
Yeah, one of these days.
At least streaming some video games after podcast video stream.
Apex.
Video
stream.
We could air the podcast, and as soon as the podcast comes out, we can stream. Be like, did you guys enjoy the podcast? Two of our viewers can come on in and be like, oh, cool.
Yeah, come on in. Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super chats or something. I don't know how I don't know how any of that works. Streaming is so far removed from my knowledge base.
Yeah, I don't know.
That I can only guess.
Yeah, I feel like it's an entire subculture in and of itself.
I think so.
I have not gotten into like Twitch that much. Like I've, sometimes, but mostly YouTube for me. And the Twitch subculture is just its own beast.
It is. One day, fellas, one day. But I think
one day, yeah.
I think it's about time, fellas. We're running late. It's time to It's time to put our animation brains to rest and I think call it a night.
I see.
You see?
I see. I don't know. I'm tired. You're right.
Yeah.
It's probably good to go.
All right. Well, guys, this has been Almost a Podcast. One day we'll get there. Please like, follow, subscribe, whatever you do. We'd really appreciate it. And yeah. Any closing thoughts, fellas?
See you later.
Lads?
Oh, shoot. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts.
Be careful what you meme. Don't take recommendations from Colton on videos to watch.
Oh, I have the best videos. Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life. Like and subscribe. Comment on what you thought. Comment on how you thought Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life was. All right, I'm gonna stop talking now. Let's just, I'm gonna. You can play the outro music now, or maybe play it earlier. I don't know.